So Mark here from Rock and Load, and this evening I am joined by Yorkshire rocker Loz Campbell. Loz has just dropped her latest single, Bad Girl. So all you crazy kids out there, make sure you check it out. Crazy as ever. So Loz, how are you?
How am I? Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. I've just got over COVID, so I am hat trick. Okay. Yeah, I've just had my hat trick of COVID, so I'm a COVID warrior now.
I suppose it's, well, in the line of work that you're in, it's going to be one of those things you're going to have to sort of toss a coin, and it's going to happen at some stage.
This is it. I mean, I think it's probably the best time because it hit me and the drummer at the same time. And it's the best time for us to get it before we go out on the road. You know, at least we've done that now.
Yeah, so yeah. Crazy to say that, but that's probably true.
Yeah, here we are. Bring on the summer.
Exactly. I know. And warm weather, for God's sake. Let's bring on the warm weather as well. Get back to that. Never mind anything else.
Yes, I need some sun on my face.
Yeah, you and me both, sister. You and me both. So, Loz, it's our first time chatting together. Tell me a little bit of history about you. What's piqued your interest in music in the first place, and when did you start sort of getting into it?
It's funny you say that because I did a bit of a calculation the other day of how long I've been doing it. And I think it's around about 8 years now, and I'm only 22 now. So I started in my, pretty early teens. I started playing local festivals and such, and the ball sort of rolled from there quite quickly, to the point where I had my first EP funded, the recording of it anyway, and then I got it printed, and then people kept shouting for more music, so I recorded another EP. More shows came. So again, the ball was like getting bigger and rolling faster. And did an album when I was just turning 18, I think. And my latest EP that I released a couple of years back, just before COVID hit, was Back Biting the Bullet. So I've got quite a few releases out there. But for the past 2 years, we've just been doing singles. So we did What You Doing It For, and obviously we dropped Bad Girl a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
So,
and when did you actually start playing? When did you pick up the instrument?
I think I was about 11, because there was a crossover period of me playing flute, and it was sort of playing them both at the same time. Then I sacked flute off and threw it in the cupboard.
Could imagine you doing flute jazz solos for Ron Burgundy. Would have been good look.
Right. Do you know what? It's so funny you say that, because throughout lockdown, I thought to myself, right, I'm not gigging. I've got a bit of spare time. What am I going to do? I get the flute out the cupboard. So I've got it all serviced, and because obviously it's been sat there, the keys were broken and such. So I've got it all serviced, and I did actually start playing jazz flute and started really digging into it. So we joke about it, but this is it.
Yeah, the things you do, though, I suppose, though, like for yourself, being off the road during that 2 year period, it's really like you have to preoccupy yourself with something. So did you say you threw yourself back into the flute? What else did you do with yourself?
I worked a lot, to be honest with you. I worked a hell of a lot of doing like 17-hour days, because for me, and I think a lot of other creative people, if you're not constantly on the go, then you go spare, and obviously you can't see your friends or anything. I did have a couple of Zoom parties, but I just thought to myself, I'm going to take this opportunity, one, to rest from like gigging and stuff and have a bit of a break from music, and two, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to graft and get some pennies saved, and then we went and did the couple of singles. Very good.
Yeah. And how did you find that time, though? Like, as I say, it's a weird experience being off the road. You sort of sounded like you sort of embraced it at the same time, accepted the fate, and just sort of got your head down and got through it.
Yeah, I did. I mean, initially, I was one of the naive ones that thought, it's going to last like a month, so I'll just cancel a few gigs. But then when it kept going on, I thought, you know what, we'll just have the 6 months off. We did come back out and do a few festivals outside that summer. But yeah, I just did embrace it. I mean, what else can you do at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't regret that time. I think it's really, for me, it's been a time that I now appreciate my friends a lot more. I spend a lot more time with my friends and chatting to them and stuff. And yeah, gigs, you just appreciate everything, don't you?
Yeah.
Going out for a meal is like a whoa,
Yeah, I know it's a different experience. Although you guys, especially in England, you sort of had a taste of freedom a lot earlier than other parts of the UK. So like Northern Ireland, we didn't really get. I
Correct.
think it was October maybe before we actually got gigs and stuff again. So it was
Yeah, I have
very
a
late
few
on.
friends out there, and they were saying that they were even, I think back end of last year, they were shutting the pubs at like 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah. Like the South and Republic of Ireland was different again. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
very strict, you know. So yeah, like I think the Republic of Ireland had one of the strictest lockdowns in the whole of Europe. You know, they were very extreme. So everywhere was so different. We went across to Bloodstock in August of last year, covered that festival, and obviously coming from, we were in lockdown to go to Bloodstock and a field with 20,000 people. It was mental, you know.
And did you get COVID?
No, I've avoided it so far.
Go.
Yeah, touch wood, I've avoided it. Some of the team did though, you know, but yeah. We tried our best to be sensible, but my God, yeah. People are dropping like flies everywhere. What can you do? As you say, you just got to roll your sleeves up and get on with it.
Aye, this is it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit of your history. So like you saying you were gigging from about 14 and I'm assuming that obviously you attracted a lot of attention and young talented people generally do. You know, people it'll turn ahead and people will pay attention. So what was that like for you at such a young age though, dealing with that and tackling that?
I'm trying to track my mind back. Nobody's ever asked me, to be honest. It was exciting because all my friends were working down at the pub and I got to go out on a weekend and play around the country, and I just was having the time of my life, you know.
Yeah.
And locally as well at the time, there was a revamp of one of the biggest venues in Wakefield, Unity Works. Back in the day, Iron Maiden played there, so it's quite a sizable venue. And I was lucky enough that one of the promoters, you know, heard me, really liked me, and kept putting me on really good gigs there. So I got to play main stage, and then they had a smaller room, and then they had like cafe gigs downstairs. And it became a bit of a joke. It was like Unity Works featuring Loz Campbell featuring Unity Works or something like that, because I'm constantly there. But I just loved it. It's what I'd wanted to do. I wanted gigs, so
yeah. I'm suppose it was probably like a youthful naivety, not really thinking about the size of the task ahead of you. You're just like, yeah, just do this. Give me more.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And I had no experience at the time, you know. My parents weren't in the scene at all, so they didn't know really. I mean, my mum was a massive help. She, you know, got me some little business cards and stuff at the time and was, you know, dealing with all the bookings and such. But we had no idea what we were doing. We've learned a lot along the way, for sure.
Yeah. I'd say so, because I think it's such a gargantuan learning curve, the industry anyway, because obviously the time that you've sort of stepped into it as well, the industry's changed so much. So like you as an artist, everybody has to be DIY and everybody has to be hands-on now because of the social media side of things. And it's not really about record sales anymore. It's all about almost a digital presence, isn't it? And interacting with your fan base.
Yeah, I think people really want to know you as a friend almost. You know, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you're really nice." Like when they come to see me at gigs, I don't know them, but they always say, "Oh, you're really nice. You're really nice." I'm thinking, "Oh, that's good, but how do you know that?"
Yeah. I think it's maybe the intrusion of the digital world as well. People are maybe so involved in your life that they're watching you 24/7 on social media, and they probably think they know you before they get the chance to meet you.
Totally, but I think that's nice in a way, because sometimes I think how cut off it must have been back in the day, you know, like when we were just sticking posters up on lampposts and stuff like that. Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? If you could take both elements of times.
Yeah, for sure. And I was funny actually, because I was at the Hailstorm gig there the other night in Belfast. We're doing an evening with Hailstorm, and Lizzie was actually just talking about when she was a young artist that her parents used to run her out to all the gigs as well. and they actually only recently admitted that they were terrified for her. So
Really?
have your parents ever sort of talked to you about what it was like, you know, dropping you off at a gig and letting you do your thing?
Okay, so two points on that one. I'm about to go see Hailstorm this weekend, and I can't wait.
Yeah, amazing.
Because I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him a few times, but when I first saw him, I was really like young. I must have been about 14ish, and I've watched them grow, and to who they are now, it's really, really nice to see. You know, I've watched them grow totally. So yeah, drop them. Well, to be honest with you, obviously Lizzie had her brother with her, but when I first started, it was just me. I didn't have the band with me at the time. So my mum was always the watchful eye in the corner.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, we were concerned. One, I was not old enough to be in the pubs for a start off playing on a Friday, Saturday night, having a cheeky half a pint afterwards. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of these. But yeah, I mean, my mum prepared me, but I think I know I'm grateful for that time because it's made me very streetwise. Yeah. Like I've learned how to judge characters really quickly. From the minute somebody walks into a place, I can instantly tell you what they're like. And that's just from standing there for 2 times 45-minute sets as a 15-year-old kid, playing and observing the room and watching different characters. So, yeah, I mean, my mum was obviously concerned. It was definitely, some places we played, it was get the gate in the car as fast as possible and drive, you know. There's one gig, I've got to tell you this. We turned up and we knew instantly. I mean, the landlord and landlady said, don't take a break, just play, because we've taken over this pub and we cannot wait to leave. And then this guy comes over and he says, hey up lads, I've just pulled my tooth out with a set of pliers at bar. I thought, oh my Lord. So it's just stuff like that. I mean, you can't write it.
No, it's like something out of the Blues Brothers.
Totally.
And so when did you then have the band around you? When did you decide to go for that route?
Probably when I reckon it was the second EP, so I'll have been about 16, 17.
Okay.
And my photographer, John Jowett, who's, you know, still my photographer to this day, bless him, he was always pushing, Loz, you need a band, you need to get a band behind these songs because it's definitely, you know, there's room for it. And I said to him, well, I'd love a band, John, but you know, bands that hard work and getting people to commit and such. But in the Wakefield music scene, I came across a drummer, and I knew a lad that played bass, so it kind of just got together from that. But I've had quite a few different members. It's hard finding people, one that want to play under your name and are happy with that, and two that are committed because we were out a lot, you know, like we were at the time we were doing maybe 80 gigs a year, which were ridiculous, but now we've calmed it down a bit. But the lads I've got now are just, I mean, they look great for a start, and they're so much fun. There's so much fun to have around, and it's just, I guess it's similar to a relationship. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find Prince, and it's same with, you know, band members. Not necessarily don't have to kiss them, but you know, you have to try a few out and see, oh, these aren't right for me, or you know, like,
personalities as well. Personalities. My God, I can only imagine. So, like, I feel like if you're in a bus or a van and you guys are up and down the country, like spending pretty much 24 hours a day with each other, for God's sake, it's got to be tough.
So, yeah, but I think above that, motivation levels, you know, if somebody just can't be bothered to rehearse, then it's not going to work, you know. And there are a lot of musicians out there that you know, are fantastic, played with some brilliant people, just don't have the motivation. Which is sad, really, but, you know, here we are. You find your people. People come and, you know, people come, people go. Some people stay, and if they don't, it often gets better as, you know, you find new people to work with and things. Yeah,
I suppose you touch on it with the motivation side of things. Obviously, anybody like yourself who's maybe fronting a band tends to be a really driven type person anyway. So you obviously need people who are equally driven, but I suppose, as you say, are comfortable underneath your name, working with yourself as well, just trying to find that balance.
Correct, yeah. And what I've always tried to say to all my band members is, yeah, it's Loz Campbell, but the fact is, the sound is the three of us. I can't do it on my own. I can't make this sound like this on my own. We are a band.
Yeah.
And Loz Campbell's just a name, it's just a collection of letters, let's be honest. Yeah. If you reversed it or you called it, I don't know, monkey sauce or whatever, it'd still be our sound. So for me, I know it's my name, but I don't see it as just me. I see it as me and the lads.
Yeah.
And now we've got another girl on the guitar. She just joined, so that's cool.
Okay. So yeah, and again, different people in the bands and different people you work with will always add a different flavor to it and see where it goes to. Yeah,
so we were going a bit heavier. So I saw this lass in London jump on the top of a bar and started playing the guitar solo. I thought, Jesus, I need her in my band.
Fair play. Yeah, I caught a great female band there, Bones UK. Have you caught them live?
I have just stumbled across them on Spotify.
Yeah, they supported Eagles of Death Metal on the UK tour. Yeah. And two very, very sort of really driven girls again, but just really, really interesting live, because again, one guitarist, I think, plays bass and then drummer, and so a three-piece band. But the guitarist is very into sort of modulation and creating mad sounds when they're playing live, so just great to watch and great to see, a totally different type of vibe from a female sort of rock band.
Yeah, to be fair to you, I really enjoyed that, because what I do sometimes, I just press shuffle on Spotify, and that's how I find people, new people. And I took a screenshot, so I was like, well, who are these? I need to check them out. So yeah.
That's a great thing about the digital age, isn't it, though, that you find artists like that, or even artists like yourself. You like yourself will pop up in somebody's playlist because they've been listening to somebody else. So it just gives you a broader audience to tap into.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a pro to that side of things.
Yeah. And how would you sort of define your music? Everybody likes to put people in boxes. Like, what would you say your genre of music is, or what are you trying to put out there?
Well, now we've definitely gone heavier. We used to be quite bluesy, but with the Bad Girl track in particular and some of the new ones that we're writing, it's definitely more rock, straight down alternative rock sort of route.
Yeah. And have you ever had any musical training at all? You were talking about playing the flute, so I'm just wondering, do you have a musical training background or lessons?
Yeah, so I started studying how to read music with the flute. I continued that on with guitar, and at first I was teaching myself guitar, but I then went on to play classical, and I've got all the grades in that. Did the music theory and such. I think it did help me to some extent. Obviously, it's different style, but the techniques and the discipline that you have to play that genre is unbelievable. Trust me. But that's all I've had. Never had singing lessons. I have been thinking about it, but I never really wanted to sing, so I just pushed that under the rug and thought, oh, don't matter.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because I was speaking to one or two artists recently, and one or two, again, I've never done the route of having singing lessons, but are vocalists in a band. And I was speaking with Ollie Brown recently. I don't know if you know Ollie Brown, if you came across him at all on the road, but Ollie got lessons, and he said it was a really, really valuable thing that he'd done, because obviously it's just about control more than anything else, and obviously then trying to expand on it as an instrument, I suppose,
I think, and I'm not adverse to lessons on anything, even though that I've got to the top level, shall we say, on the classical. I wouldn't never have a lesson again, because for me, you're always learning. There's a really nice quote by this, I think it's like a 90-year-old musician, and they said, I still practice, even though I'm 90, I still practice because I'm always learning, and I love that.
Yeah, I think of the day when you think you know it all, you're sort of screwed, aren't you? Because every day is a school day when it comes to an instrument or anything in life, really. You've got to leave yourself open to absorb from people who've lived a life doing it, for example. So. Yeah,
and there's always somebody better out there. That's what I think. People can say, "Oh, you're great," but there's always somebody better. And I think as a musician, you're always wanting to be better.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And sort of long-term objectives, like what do you have in mind? Do you know at the stage, are you still sort of finding yourself maybe and finding your sound?
No, I'm confident that we found it now. It's been a sort of a bumpy road just because I did start so young, and I've had to learn everything, you know. It's been a finding process, but 100% with the Bad Girl track, that is everything I've always wanted to sound like, how I've always wanted to play and sing as well, I guess now. So yeah, I think I don't want to let go of the bluesy element, because sometimes I write tracks and they end up coming out a bit bluesy. So I don't want to force myself to write heavier stuff.
Yeah. I
think it will definitely be a mixture of the bluesy and the heavier if we can.
Yeah. Well, there's always scope for that. You see a lot of artists like Chris Barris, for example, crossing over, or Southern rock guys mixing the blues and the rock together, and so there's no reason why you should pigeonhole yourself for certainly anyway for that reason. And what's the sort of process with you guys then when you're writing? How do you like to approach that?
I don't force it ever. Like, I can never sit down and say, right, today I'm going to write a song.
Yeah.
It'll be, I don't want to sound too arty-farty here, but it's a sort of like an internal feeling that I get if a song's coming, like something's happening. And then I'll sit down with the guitar when I get that feeling and write a riff or some sort of starting point. And then sometimes I'll have a little melody in my head. Either something might have annoyed me or frustrated me, or I've been through a heartbreak or something, and then I'll write lyrics to it. So it's quite sporadic how I write. It's either I get a riff idea or I get a lyric idea or a melody. When we've worked with our producer for the past 3 tracks, he's now always in my head when I write. So when I've written songs before, I've kind of just like a prick stick method, cut and paste, stick them together. Doesn't necessarily work. So I'm very thoughtful now of how things fit, where they fit. And my drummer Tom is very good at, I'll take what I think is a finished song and we'll speed it up, and then we'll patch stuff together and mix, arrange basically, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it is mainly me that writes the song, but me and drummer Tom sort of add the finishing coat, shall we say.
Yeah. It's interesting. You were talking on the point there when you were sort of, I'd say, the journey you've been on, because obviously you did start so young, so it is such a massive learning curve. And the biggest thing I'm sure for you from the creative process is that songwriting and building on it and growing on it and maturing as you go along. And I suppose there's the level of experience, and when you come into working with different people, as you say, the producer who can give you input about structure of a song and stuff like that there, it's vitally important that you're open to actually taking the advice on board as well, isn't it?
Totally. And it freaks me out, to be totally honest with you. The first time we went there and did Backbiting the Bullet and he ripped the song apart, and I freaked out. I was almost like crying on the way home, thinking, oh my God, does this mean I can't write a song? And it's not. You've just got to open up and listen to people, and that's how you get better. But I think when I listen back to my very first song that I wrote, Behind Closed Doors, I'm proud of it. Not many people can probably say I like what I did when I was 14, but to be honest with you, I've learned to like it, if that makes sense, because I can see what people were saying at the time. People were saying, sort of, how do you write stuff like that when you're only 14 years old? And I was, and now I can sort of see what they were saying. It's not a masterpiece, but it's definitely a catchy little track.
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially when you're younger, and there's that naivety I said before of youth, it just comes spilling out of you, doesn't it?
Totally.
And you just pour it all out there, and it's out there. And you technically, sometimes you can be way ahead of yourself, and you can be writing about subject matters that are maybe years ahead of yourself as well. But when I was talking with Ollie there recently, he talked about a time when he worked with, I think it was Mike Vernon, he mentioned a producer. And he's again sat down with him and took him through the songs that he wrote, and pretty much slated half of what he wrote as well, because he from a fundamental sort of songwriting point of view, there were things that should have been followed and guidelines, and because obviously it's all about structure and process and almost building it to a crescendo sometimes and bringing the song back around for people and taking your listener on a journey, isn't it really? So but that's something you learn over years, as you say yourself, and you've been on the road doing it, working, honing your craft for so long that sometimes you maybe don't get the opportunity to sit back and do those things. You need time, don't you, as well?
Yeah, totally. And when you're young, you're full of confidence, aren't you? And you think this is the best thing I've ever done. 5 years time, 5 years later, you're like, what the hell? What was I thinking?
It must be hard, like for yourself, as you say, growing up in the public eye, because you were a 14-year-old girl, and then all of a sudden you're 22 and you have 6 or 7 years of documentation of you growing as a musician.
Totally. I mean, it's ridiculous sometimes, but I almost feel like I could write a really decent book already. But I mean, even this morning, because I live in quite a small village, where everybody knows each other, and I was pulling out the driveway on my motorbike, and somebody stopped me, and it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't really like talking to people. Let's bear that in mind. And I was just pulling out the drive, and somebody said to me, "Oh, hi, love, you're doing really well, aren't you?" And I thought, what? But it's so nice because, like, people have watched me from being so young down at local pub. And now it's like, I get people messaging me. My old boss messaged me today, said, "Where are you based at the minute?" And I went into, Wakefield the other day. I was like, "Hey, where do you live now? Do you live in London, or where do you live?" And it's funny, isn't it, how people perceive success with living elsewhere,
Yeah, it's obviously, again, that whole thing of the social media, digital age, and people will see you on stage night after night and assume that you're just sort of raking in all the cash and going home and sort of burning $20 bills, whatever, to light your cigarette. It's a crazy perception that people get off social media.
Oh, totally. See, there's no more walking down to Tesco's in the trackies.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you mentioned there, apparently you are a bit of a petrol head. Do you like your bikes and cars and stuff?
More bikes, I'll be honest, especially because my car has just cost me a fortune today, so I'm definitely a lover of bikes.
And when did you start riding a bike?
Well, I was always on the back of my uncle's bike from the age of about 13, and I just loved it. I don't know what it was. It was just, going to the coast on it and stuff, and the feeling of the rev, I guess. So I started riding my own bike about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I do love it. I'm a bit silly on it sometimes, so I need to watch myself. But...
I was going to say, that'd probably be the more nerve-wracking thing for your mother than you being on stage, I'd say.
Oh yeah, totally, definitely. Yeah, but I might show my mum rides as well, so she can't say anything.
Okay, well, that's not too bad then. That's not too bad. And so, like, what's coming up next for you? I think you've got a tour with Firekind, isn't that right?
Yeah, July. Yeah, we hit the roads in a month's time. Actually, a month today. We go down to Camden, doing York. We're doing loads of dates that are all on the website. But yeah, July is the Firekind tour, co-headline with them. Starts in Scotland, finishes in Birmingham, and hits everywhere in between. Yeah.
And what about new music then? Are you going to be getting into the studio to try and put something together, like an EP or an album then, off the back of the pandemic?
I'd love to put an EP out. It's obviously funding is the studio and the producer that we like to work with is very expensive. So
typical woman, expensive taste.
Clearly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully a new single at some point this year. But we do have, we have material for more. So yeah.
Yeah. And do you think then maybe the introduction of the new guitarist may alter that again? Might take it in another direction?
Potentially. I've not actually met up with her yet. I'm meeting up with her this weekend virtually because she's all the way down south. So yeah, you don't know what people, ideas they're going to bring. And I'll obviously bear in mind now that she's going to be there. So I might write extra little bits,
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, look, I won't keep you much longer. It's lovely meeting you, Loz. It was a real pleasure. I finally get a chance to catch up with you, because I've seen you across, again, social media and everything else bouncing around for a few years. So it's good to finally put a face to the name.
Good, thank you.
And best of luck with the rest of the year. And as I say, hopefully 2022 will be good, strong year for you.
Cheers, much appreciated. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Look, once again, thanks very much, Loz Campbell.